What's happening, everybody? So I've done a couple of videos talking about how great the 5.7 liter and the 6.4 liter, the 6.1 liter as well, how those naturally aspirated Hemis make for such fun street cars. I mean, yeah, they're fast, don't get me wrong, but they're not scary fast. They're laugh-inducing, grin-producing levels of performance, but they're not necessarily scare you half to death fast. I mean, listen, the 6.4, guys, don't get me wrong, is really fast, but it's not Hellcat fast or modified Hemi fast, like supercharged, E85, big cam. You get the idea. There's levels to this game, and where a lot of guys really seem to get it wrong is they'll talk down on the naturally aspirated variants without having ever really owned or driven a heavily modified car. If they've ridden in one, that might be the extent of their expertise, if you will, but they've never actually owned one and they've never actually had to deal with one personally on the street. And the big difference here is where the Hellcat variants and where modified versions of a lot of these cars get all the sweet press, if you will, like all the gushing love and oohs and ahs and wows, and the NA cars never seem to get the love that they deserve. I want to paint those NA cars in a little bit different light. Not that it's not a positive light. In fact, it's a little bit more of a rosy light. A light that's not necessarily going to get you killed or at least freak you out to the point where you want to get rid of the car later, which was what happens when guys buy cars like a Hellcat, in some cases a GT500, ZL1, or start modifying their cars to the point where they're very scared of the car. So when a 5.7 or a 6.4 isn't necessarily scary fast, a Hellcat can actually be extremely scary fast, especially if you're not used to that level of power. How fast is it? Well, here's something that I want to illustrate for you guys. In 7 seconds, and by the way, this whole video started out as kind of a behind the scenes video, me showing you some of the things that I had sort of changed up a little bit with the tune on Little Miss Revlon, and mainly some data logging that I was doing the other night at a sanctioned roll race event in Mexico. So anyway, let me show you guys something real quick. What I want you to primarily focus on are those two little ridges. See those little bumps right there? Very top on that graph. For you guys that are in the know, you know exactly what I'm looking at. You know exactly where I'm going with this. In 7 seconds, 7 very short seconds, let's say you're on the freeway, you're cruising along at what is basically highway speed, 75, 76 miles per hour, and you watt the throttle. In actually less than 7 seconds, depending on if you're counting when the thing actually kicks down and catches the gear, which is what most guys do. But in 7 seconds, notice a drinking game here every time I say that, you will be going nearly, or what is as close to as it doesn't make a difference, roughly 140 miles per hour. You're going from 75, 76 to what is in essence 140. And this is in a car that is not considered to be fast from a roll. In 7 seconds, 7 innocent seconds, you just get in it, you're like, wow, let me see what this thing will do. Next thing you know, you are going twice the speed limit, or in some cases, and then some. That is a level of fast that most people really never quite get used to. And it's, again, one of the reasons why people get rid of these cars. It especially happens with guys that start to modify cars. You take a Hellcat, start throwing pulleys on them. Next thing you know, you've got about a 6 month to maybe 16, 18 month window. And those guys are getting rid of those cars just like that because they end up scaring the hell out of them. The same goes, though, for guys that start modifying any of these cars, especially when you get them to the point where the car will out accelerate your skill set. And that's really more to the point that I wanted to make here. Guys, look, when I'm talking about cars that are fast and fun for the street, what I'm talking about is a car that you could literally go out with your friends, play around with it, do some sketchy stuff, although I only manage my speed runs and sanctioned events. I know some of you guys don't. So if you're out there doing some sketchy things, you don't want 7 or 8 seconds worth of just kind of hooning around and goofing off to get you in a situation where you have far driven past the endpoint of your set of skills that you possess. This is why a lot of these cars ended up getting wadded up. And when I say to you guys that you need to be running the right kind of tire for your application, it's because cars like the one that I was just showing you in this data log at wide open throttle can actually spin the tires on the highway. And this is where guys really start to get sketched out when they start to build these cars and start to go much faster, and they're building way more power than what they're actually used to. It's kind of funny how quickly guys go from just grinning ear to ear to have this. And it's the weirdest thing. I've seen it happen. I've seen guys do this when I've done driver orientations where they go, because it's this long, open mouth, wide-eyed, but yet still long inhale that they do. And what that translates to is, I've made a mistake. Guys, if you've got a naturally aspirated car that you love, I would challenge you to start taking the time to visit SCCA autocrosses. Take time if you've got closed course tracks where you can take some driving lessons to learn to get really good with that car. Get that car to a drag strip, get that car to sanctioned events, get with the guys that are there and have them help you develop a skill set before you start spending money on a car that will literally practically double the speed limit or the speed that you're going in the amount of time that it takes you to try to complete an entire thought. It'll definitely go a long way into helping your confidence should you choose to keep moving forward with modifications with that vehicle. And those skills that you learn, that skill set that you're developing, may just save your life and whoever may be riding along with you. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. You guys have a great one. We will catch y'all on the next one. That's a wrap.